us women, it's just in our nature, and it's what we've always done. We've always done our hair, we've done our skin, we've done our nails, and this goes way back before medical doctors got involved with all of this, because this is just what women do.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, today's episode is with the amazing Danny. Now, Danny has been a esthetician well over 35 years. She's phenomenal. And why I wanted to get her on the show is because I think as women, we're all really just concerned and not really used to aging as our mothers would, as our grandmothers would. There's a big concern now. We are more focused on delaying aging and looking more beautiful and youthful. And it's very understandable because that is what the norm is now. We're so scared of wrinkles. There's so much anxiety around it. However, there are so many really aggressive procedures that people are taking on, such as Botox and fillers and all these lasers and real just trauma to our skin that we're applying, whether it's skincare or lasers or chemical peels and etc. And why I wanted to bring on Danny is because she has a very natural approach to aging and skin. So the topic is delaying aging and how we can do that, what skin products we can use to do that, and honestly, how negative is Botox and fillers for our face? Is that just a myth, or it's really honest and there's truthful evidence and science behind it that Botox is bad for our skin and fillers are bad for our skin and chemical peels are bad for our skin? So Danny and I really sit down and discuss that. And also what skincare we can use organically to delay aging, because I think that's what we all want as women. As much as we like to sit and talk about how we like to age gracefully, which I'm a big fan of. I love aging gracefully, but at the same time, I really want to know how we can delay it. I think that's an important science that we all need to learn. So enjoy this episode, but before you start, I genuinely want to introduce you to Anita. Anita is somebody who's just dear to my heart. She's a phenomenal tutor at Anita's Tutoring Center, and I look up to her. She's a phenomenal person, but also she is our sponsor, and she's an amazing sponsor. So if ever you need any tutoring needs, whether it's math, most importantly, critical thinking, she's definitely someone you need to reach out to because she's a gem in the community. Her tutoring center is huge. It's safe. It's clean. It's reliable. She's reliable. Her educational background is amazing. I love how she's so educated, well-rounded, and beautifully. Most importantly, she's a teacher and she's taught for several years in public schools. She's very well reversed with the education system. So definitely look up Anita's Tutoring Center and definitely trust her because I trust her with my children and I love her. Hi, Danny. How are you?
I'm good. Hi.
Hi, it's so nice to have you on my show. I'm very grateful and honored to know you, and thank you for accepting my invitation for today's show.
Absolutely. My favorite things, talk about skin.
I know, right? So, us women and men, we're gonna go insane already with all this information. I want to kind of first bring up the difference between estheticians and practitioners. We kind of know, but I think one thing that sticks out to me is you guys were, estheticians were taking care of skin way before aesthetics were introduced, right? To the world.
That's true. I mean, us women, it's just in our nature, and it's what we've always done. We've always done our hair, we've done our skin, we've done our nails, and this goes way back before medical doctors got involved with all of this, because this is just what women do.
That's right. I think that one thing that I've learned from following you, from using your amazing skincare line, and also just the way your approach is to skin, that the most important thing is to nurture your skin. That's what I've learned. But there's this other side to it that taking care of your skin is presented very differently, and that's through all these lasers, Morpheus, there's these CO something laser, there's all these like harmful products, these chemical peels. Are those truly an essential for our skin? Because that's what we're hearing. We don't have a lot of estheticians talking about nurturing our skin the holistic way, the traditional way.
Yeah, well, it's a whole conversation because
Yes.
trauma-based skincare, and that's what I'll call it. It's something that's referring to the hermetic effect, where if we give our skin a little bit of harm, it heals itself. And that's what has to be redefined is we can't harm to heal our skin. Although I do realize that 98%, 99% of the skincare industry operates on this old belief. And that all got started in the 1900s with the first chemical peel. And
Mhm.
that's what started this whole idea because it was discovered that our dermal layer could completely replace our epidermal layer if our epidermal layer was removed by this chemical peel. So that set into motion this whole idea that we have to hurt our skin to get it to anti-age or to heal itself. And then in the 1970s, it went into dry to fix, where we have to dry out our sebaceous glands, dry out there's too much oil, too much excess skin cells. And so that added another layer of what we now know as corrective skincare. And that's very American in many ways, where we've gone in and have gone kind of overboard in this way of harming our skin and drying it to fix it. And what estheticians know, to bring this back to what estheticians do, like I've been in the field, I got started when I was 19 years old, started working actively with skin in my early 20s. And estheticians are actually seeing skin day in and day out over many years at a time, often family members. So we're able to see how genetics play out. We're able to see all the different age groups. I've seen many different income levels. And in doing this, in this combined 30 years, it's become obvious and completely apparent to me that when we hurt our skin by harming it with chemical peels, microdermabrasion, microneedling, anything that is inflammatory, this thins our dermal layer faster. So this creates accelerated aging for our skin. And I know that this flies in the face of what many medical providers do, but in fact, there's many, many more holistic skincare providers of even medical doctors. We're called corneotherapists. And it's this whole group of skin professionals that believe in keeping our skin intact. Corneo is our skin layer, is our skin cells. And so it's all about how do we keep this intact for optimized long-term skin health.
So there are no actual, honestly, I haven't found any. I haven't found any evidence-based or peer-reviewed articles or studies that show that Morpheus and these lasers and chemical peels are hurting the dermal layer and not really delaying aging. I haven't found any, but what you're saying is that estheticians see skin every day, maybe like 4 to 5 clients a day. So you're able to see that there actually is.
Right. And it's very divided, to be honest. Like this is a very controversial topic. And what's funding a lot of research, and it takes a tremendous amount of money to fund research, are laser companies. And so this is something that I think is going to come to be in the years to come, where there will be money put in this direction, but it doesn't make sense for a lot of the industry because it's operating at only 1, 2, or 2% of the industry is operating with this nourish to heal approach. And so it doesn't serve them. And so that's what we see, that all clinical studies are all funded by companies that are proving that agenda. But we are able to measure dermal thickness. And it's called angiogenesis, where we want this thickening of our dermal layer. It is measurable. And there's been two things that I have found over the years that actually delivers that. We can talk about that later. They're both patented, of course. And that's what we're looking for when it comes to nourish to heal skincare. And it's also this nourish to heal idea is, it's mostly lip service. Like it's this idea that is just kind of Charlie Brown to crop, like nourish to heal. And it's just like this cliche you hear in a lot of skincare. And honestly, it's lip service unless you're actually using the ingredients that are going to build and promote this angiogenesis, and then have the other practices that go in alignment with that, because we can reverse ourselves really quickly. Like if we're using these powerful ingredients, we're not using them correctly, and then we go out and we reverse it with getting trauma-based skincare, lasers, chemical peels, microdermabrasion, and all that.
So the most important thing in delaying aging, since that's the topic, is nurturing our dermal layer, right?
Correct. You're right. That's one piece of the puzzle. And like that's what I said. It's topical dermal nutrients, and there's a new peptide that's out that specifically can build that dermal thickness. And those are the only two things that I've ever said that. But that also has to be combined. So we're preserving and growing and, keeping that dermal mattress really thick so that it keeps making new skin cells. But our skin also has to be hydrated. It
Mhm.
has to have a restored barrier, and our skin has this native capacity to release, and that's what needs to also be brought in, needs to be activated within our skin. And then we have to just not be doing all of the things that over exercise our skin and actually wear out our skin. So it's about magnifying our dermal layer, and then it's about preserving what we have for as long as possible.
You know what's interesting to me that I just literally remembered, and I'm laughing as I'm talking to you about it because they promote all these lasers like Morpheus and etc. But then you also hear him saying how important it is that use this product, it helps the dermal layer.
Right.
Those things conflict. It's so condescending.
It's complete madness. And I mean, I stepped into this when I was 19 and got really confused and overwhelmed. And then I went
It
to
is
aesthetic school and
confusing.
got even more confused and overwhelmed. And it's complete madness and insanity when you actually go through everybody's protocols, because you will find that they are so contradictory and they negate each other, and it's just a form of mental illness in my opinion. And
Yes.
what emerged, yeah, I mean, all these beauty practices of like peel, harm, oh, and then I actually have years ago have started calling it the bipolar approach, where you do all of these things to your skin to harm it, all of these things I've listed out, and then you turn around and you're soothing and you're nice to it, and you do things that are preserving and nurturing and kind and gentle, and you're basically just flip-flopping between those two strategies. And so that's very apparent exactly what you're saying to me, to somebody who's like really paying attention and really trying to get to the bottom of it. And what emerged is what I call the regenerative skin process. And it's my life's work, and it's 30 plus years of my time being very intimate with skin. And this process that I've developed is the antidote for the madness, shall we say.
So I love how you call it the bipolar era. Is that what you called it for skin?
Bipolar approach. Yeah, because that's essentially what I was doing after I left aesthetic school and was trying to adhere to corrective skincare protocols that I was taught, but it was also conflicting with my holistic roots. And
Yeah.
so it's like this mishmash of insanity. And that's what I find time and time again when people come to me. It's this, complete reworking and belief change and return to simplicity of some core values that have a practical application.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. It's like now that we're talking and getting more deeper into it, it's like you use these peels, but then you go home, you use like all these like soothing things to soothe it and try to make it it's like, making a child super angry, but then giving it a lollipop, like triggering a
Right,
kid and giving it a lollipop. And that makes no sense to
right,
me. And I'm so
right.
happy we're talking about this. Wow, this is amazing. I do have a lot of questions. I want to get through them because I think it's
Okay.
important that, my followers hear this out. So this topic is all basically aging and how do we really delay aging with holistically, naturally. And I think it's important for women to know these. So first topic is the skin health. Danny, What daily skincare practices are most effective in maintaining youthful skin and preventing signs of aging?
Okay. So I'm a big proponent um, of minimal cleansing. So a lot of people are over cleansing their skin, trying to remove clogged pores or to take away bad, old skin cells, and that's old thinking. And so it's minimal cleansing, using a hydrating mist, using a nutritive serum, which are those two ingredients that I mentioned,
That you
and
have, yes.
then a barrier restoration using a dense moisturizer to actually trap that in, and a sunscreen without chemicals, and saying no to inflammatory practices. And of course, that includes saying no to the astringent and the drying out practices. And that would include essential oils. A lot of people think that
Hmm.
using essential oils are natural, but they're very drying for our skin. I think there's just a few obscure handful that couldn't be used. So on a daily basis, that's my recommendation.
That's interesting. So we have a minimal cleansing, which lots of people, well, is this also for women who wear makeup? The minimal cleansing goes for women who have makeup?
Yeah, I mean, just using a gentle cleanser, very gentle cleanser, if you have makeup on, that's plain and non-scented and kind of boring, if you will, but not focusing on cleansing. And if you don't have a lot of makeup or sunscreen on, you just using warm water cleansing is completely effective. So when I say minimal cleansing, it's like just never using a cleanser in the morning and only using a gentle cleanser when you have those things on. Many people are so hyper focused on cleansing their skin and exfoliating their skin, and those have gone overboard to the detriment of thinning our dermal layer faster, disabling our acid mantle. We can talk about that. Like, those things do not, contribute to daily wellness of our skin.
So we've been taught with all the reels out there that cleansing with an oil first and then cleansing with a normal cleanser is okay. But what I'm learning from you is that the more minimal, the better it is. So,
When it comes to cleansing, yeah, and staying away from acid cleansers and, you
oh, like
know,
all those
benzoyl,
BHAs and those things that,
exactly, glycolic acid, salicylic acid, lactic
why
acid,
are they harmful for the skin?
because they dissolve the top layer of our skin in one form or another, and it's exfoliation based in that way, where it's cleansing in a way where it's just destroying the top layer of our skin slowly over time. And we don't need that distraction for our skin. Our skin, when it has access to the nutrients, is making new skin cells voluntarily, abundantly. And then we want to keep our natural oils on our skin intact. And so by over cleansing, we're just stripping our own natural oils, which takes our skin backwards. And we're also over exfoliating and drying out our skin, which takes our skin backwards.
You know, I'm going to add to this because I know that when we talked a few months ago, I brought up my mom's skin. Okay. Now
Yeah.
she is, and I want everyone to hear this because it's not just my mom. I think it's many of our mothers. She's in her late 60s and minimal wrinkles. Okay. Very firm, just soft, even beautiful looking skin. And I look at my skin's not that bad, but I fell into the whole products and this and that. But when I'm looking at her skin, Danny, she does nothing to her skin. It's
Right.
just water. She doesn't put like all these retinoids and retinols and nothing, absolutely. Even in the Soviet times when we were living in Armenia, there was no such a thing as products back then. Women had just laundry soap to wash their face with. It was just a black soap. That's it, if that. So it kind of goes with what you're saying. The less you do, the more nurturing, the more healing your skin is. And
In
the
that
study is our
regard,
mothers, you know?
absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. And it's the saying no to those things and then saying yes to a few of these really important things.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is so interesting. Okay, second question. How does diet influence aging? I think this is so important because we're all about the sugars and the breads and the spaghettis. I mean, do does food really play a role in aging?
Absolutely. I mean, there's so much information out about microbiome, about our intestines, and that's key to body health and therefore skin health. And our skin surfacely has a microbiome as well. And this, I've often talked about the skin soil gut connection. Like all of these things are combined, but what we get the microbiome that we deserve. So whatever foods we're eating reflect that directly. And I find that the best diets include really high quality animal proteins and collagen, and really these really dense foods, because our bodies are animal bodies, and it recognizes these nutrients and is able to make repairs. There is a lot of research about how vegetarians and vegans just have more complications with scars and
Yeah.
recovering from surgery scars. So I'm inclined to just encourage people to eat really high quality animal meats, to bring that into their diet.
Yeah, I was just going to ask you, as somebody who has over 30 years of experience, what do you notice the skin difference between a person who eats lots of animal fats or good, dense foods versus vegetarians and vegans?
Wound repair. So if there's a small extraction spot that I give, it's like immediate, their skin repairs, whether it's something that they bump their knee or scrape their foot or something. It's this our bodies have this ability to just do this immediate wound repair no matter what it is.
Wow. And this is why, let's get into the topic of tallow. It's such a huge thing on the market
Yeah.
right now. And
Yeah.
I'm using the bison tallow you sent me. I don't know what I can say about that, but it's like there are no words to explain how phenomenal it is. I think each person has to use it for them to see it on themselves. Like it's made such a huge difference on my skin.
Yeah. I've experimented with making animal tallow moisturizers years ago. I mean, in my early 20s, years ago, and I've used them off and on. And I was really excited to see it come back into mainstream. And I put my moisturizer together, several many years ago, and it's now finally taking off with everybody else, and for good reason. It smells kind of funky, you get used to it. But now, I mean, it's one of
Animal
those
fat.
sophisticated acquired taste. Now I mean, I've always really appreciated it, but yeah.
Yeah. No, it's definitely not pleasant, but it goes away after like a few minutes.
Yeah, and now I don't find it unpleasant at
Yeah.
all. And there's a lot of A, C, and E vitamins in tallow, not the type that's going to build that angiogenesis, but it still matters to some degree. And it also penetrates so deeply into our skin, deeper than any other.
Tallow does, really.
Mhm, mhm.
Danny, is there a difference between bison tallow and beef tallow?
Bison tallow is a very lean animal. There's less fat when it comes to bison. So it's just, and many people believe that bison is just a more nutrient dense animal compared to cow. So, and it's just been a special animal to me, being from the native Southwest. So, I mean, there's differences, but they're both wonderful. And bison tallow is especially precious because it takes a lot more buffalo to render the tallow than beef.
Yeah. I mean, is there a result difference between the bison tallow and beef tallow?
I don't think so. I mean, I think it just they I don't think that would be measurable. It's just a preference. I mean, beef tends to be sometimes harder to get, or not harder to get, but over farmed. And of course, you always want to get grass fed tallow, whether it's from beef or from bison.
Yeah. Do you recommend any particular brands for beef tallow for people that are starting to get into it or want to?
I mean, this have to get I don't, I couldn't say. I work through about 5 to 7 different vendors because it depends on season for my bison tallow anyways. They come in and out of season is a commodity. So I have several different vendors that I work with. And if they're out, I go to the next and I kind of go down the list. Regenerative farming is becoming more popular. So I would say find your local farm who's doing regenerative farming and go to them and ask them for tallow. Go to your farmer's market in your neighborhood.
Wow, that's amazing. And by the way, if people are interested in bison tallow, they can contact you, correct?
Well, I don't sell the tallow. I sell the moisturizer. It's called
The-
Nomad,
Yeah.
my bison tallow moisturizer. It's whipped and
Yes.
you can find that on my website. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, that's the one that I use and I'm obsessed with. Okay. Danny, natural treatments. So since the topic is delaying aging, what are some natural and non-invasive treatments that you recommend to reduce wrinkles and produce more collagen?
Well, yeah. So
Loaded question for you.
right. Well, there's this refrain that we hear in the skincare industry all the time when you see products and ingredients and just all of the services is that it stimulates collagen and elastin. And technically, anything that is if you slap your skin, anything that is a smack or a laser or a microneedling, that technically creates collagen and elastin. And this is the rub. However, even though it might stimulate it through a trauma event, it can't reclaim what was hurt in that traumatic event. And so there's this justification of what's going to stimulate collagen and elastin. And to me, it's just not worth it. We have to preserve what we've been given through mineral-based sunscreen. And by not giving it these trauma-based events that destroy more than it creates. And so and I know that's hard to hear because everything under the sun, and you hear that over and over, that it stimulates collagen and elastin, and they'll say that even when you get injections, oh, this is stimulating collagen and elastin. So that being said, the things that actually build not collagen and elastin, because we can't, that's measurable to any kind of degree that would actually create visually more volume, is we want to add muscle to our skin, and that would be a microcurrent device. And there's many different companies that are selling them. It'd be too hard to go into all of that, but microcurrent, because it actually builds muscle. And then also face yoga, because that builds muscle as well into the face. And
So
we
it's
can
not the
gain.
products that's going to get us to feeling more lifted, and it's the face yoga. What is the microcurrent? Can you tell us about
Yeah,
that?
so it's old technology. It was invented many years ago to help stroke victims regain muscle control. So there's a lot of research on it, but it's a micro electricity jolt. It's not, you won't feel it as such.
Yes.
But it stimulates the muscle so that you're building muscle tone. And so it's
Does
a
it
mask or a wand. No, not at all. It feels incredibly pleasant. It can be very calming. And so that will actually lift and tone and build volume into our skin. And even that, I will have to say, can't compete with what injections can do, volumizing injections visually. But those volumizing injections are not the kind of volume that we want. That volumizing is decreasing skin health, creating all sorts of havoc in our skin. But what we do have is this microcurrent and then face yoga for volumizing our skin.
Have you seen like good results from microcurrent?
Yes, and the thing is that you have to do it a few times a week. It's like going to the gym. Because again, it's muscle. Like you can't get muscle any other way by actually doing the thing.
Wow, that's insane. So it's good for wrinkles as well then.
Well, there's many. The anatomy of a wrinkle is there's superficial wrinkles that are due to lack of hydration and the lack of our skin being able to hold on to water. And then there's deeper wrinkles that have to do with this collagen and elastin loss over time. And so we have to go it in both ways to be able to affect wrinkles. Like these deeper wrinkles is all about saying no to trauma-based procedures and feeding your skin these dermal nutrients so that you can at least get dermal thickness happening and new skin cells happening. But it has a lot to do with optimizing hydration with our skin, which is a very specific layering sequence, which we first started talking about with daily practices, and not subscribing to these dry to fix acne protocols, which will dehydrate our skin. And a lot of all of those acne protocols will bring on premature aging, sadly.
You know, since we were talking about, I mean, you brought up injections a little bit, and I want to bring this topic up. What is this? I mean, is injections, these fillers for the face, Botox for the face, is it really bad for aging?
It is.
It
They
is.
do not increase skin health one bit. They they absolutely just don't. Yeah.
Where do these fillers go? And so I was reading something. I can't. Oh my gosh! I wish I could remember which article it was, but it was talking about how fillers don't just dissolve; they go into your body. They go into your skin. Is Have you heard about this? What's your
Of course. Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Tell us about that a
Yeah.
little bit.
Yeah. I mean,
That's scary.
it's yeah, it is. I mean, these things, the Botox injections, the volumizing injections, they stretch soft skin tissue, which then creates like, oh, you have to do more. And they have a negative effect on the overall ability of our skin to self-release. So this, I talked about this when we first got on, this native release capacity for our skin. And all of these acne protocols and conventional anti-aging protocols shut down our skin's ability to actually release our own oil, and our own oil can't make it to the surface of our skin the way that it's supposed to. And so all of this subsurface microclusters, get underneath our skin, create all sorts of problems for our skin. And the injections directly shut this down. Every time our skin experiences trauma through microneedling or an injection, it creates a load of and a distraction of what it has to deal with. It has to process it away. It has to endure it. It has to reduce the inflammation. And when our skin is in this state of always having to deal with these things, it never, and it's not supported in the ways that the skin harmonics protocols do, it never gets to actually being the way that it's supposed to be, in the true aging delay state. And so those it disrupts the way that skin is supposed to be.
What are some of the negative results from fillers and Botox that you've seen from your experience?
A lot of these subsurface microclusters underneath the skin.
What do they look? I mean, are they visible to see on a woman's skin?
Sometimes it's like blackheads that are just underneath the surface, milia, milia, milia clusters. They disrupt the skin texture. It's when people have these just constant breakouts, but they never really go away. And so it might kind of go away, but then the same place it is erupting again and again. So that there's buckling of the skin when the skin gets overfilled. There's just a lackluster, blotchy skin tone, um, uneven, like their whole face. People lose their facial expressions, and there's also just like an unevenness to this skin, and like an overstretched to the skin. And there's also atrophy where muscles can drop when there's a lot of Botox put in. Muscles actually atrophy and drop when what microcurrent does is it re-lifts and tones the facial muscles. So we're working actively against this optimized delayed aging state, which is possible by trying these toxic band-aids that might create, like from several feet away for a week or so, while and then that all falls away, and then we have skin that's like really depressed, it's exhausted, it's tired, it's thirsty, it's hungry, and it's filled with all this gunk.
I'm So basically, what I'm hearing you say is that fillers stop your skin from working from underneath.
from the way that it's supposed to.
from
Yeah.
it's supposed, so it's just
That
shut down.
combined, right, that combined, it's sort of all of these things together. And it might, sometimes people can never have gotten injections, but their skin is already suppressed in this native release capacity because of everything else they're doing. So it's just, there's this onslaught of like, death by 1,000 cuts in a way, all combined, that create this. And sometimes it's just, I've had people come to me where they had one really intense microneedling procedure, and that was all it took for their skin to go over the cliff and have hyperpigmentation issues, never be the same in so many ways. And we've had to get back on skin reclamation protocols. That's the skin harmonics protocols. Like there's a way to intervene and reverse and turn all of this around so that we can go to that final destination of delayed aging. And we all want delayed aging. Like that's where we all want to go. And there's just so much more that we can do to get there better now, especially with, my years of experience with having taken a lot of wrong turns and have had to find out the hard way about a lot of things.
Yeah. You know what? I think it's such an essential to teach younger girls the importance of really nurturing your skin the proper way versus, how many girls do you see at Sephora buying retinols and retinoids and all these really, really harmful products, where I think they need to be taught, maybe in schools too, or by their mothers,
Yeah.
eating animal fat and using all these, exercising, hydrating, sunscreen. I wish that I was taught these things when I was younger. I think it's important, but now it's like 20-year-olds getting Botox because it's considered preventative. What?
Yeah. 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 There's a fixation on volume and wrinkles in a way that doesn't serve us, where the fixation, in my estimate, would be to focus on hydration, barrier restoration, allowing our skin this release capacity, deep pore cleansing sessions, abstaining from trauma based procedures, and using a mineral based sunscreen. Like our skin does have a love language. Like it really does.
Yeah.
And there is a way to get back on track. But again, I'm just one person in this sea of people, of companies, this multi-billion-dollar industry. And so the right information can be very hard to access.
It is. And, when you look at the world of, estheticians and practitioners, it's just, as I said in the beginning, like estheticians don't have that voice. We don't listen to you guys. We don't, because
Right.
everything else is so loud, like
Oh, and we're our hierarchy. Like my place in the industry is very low because we have like the medical doctors here, and then the registered nurses, and then we have the different levels of estheticians depending on who they're working for, medical estheticians and whatnots. And so, yeah, there's a whole hierarchy for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, but again, as I said, you guys were doing this way, way before any doctors were around to do all these like traumatic skincare stuff. You guys were out
Right.
there nurturing with rose water and carrots, and
Right. And then we go to school and we get, taught into other ways. And I've stayed independent all these years. So I've went and I've studied and I've looked at a lot of different things and have practiced a lot. But what emerged about 15 plus years ago was this methodology that I practice now and just don't look back from. Like I've
what
stayed
made
independent.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask you, what made you stay independent? Because I do hear you talk about your view on how, and I love it because it's a very natural approach. But with all the confusion and all this information, what was like the point where you're like, this doesn't make sense. Like I don't like the way they're approaching
Yeah.
skin.
I mean, I got really depressed and angry and I wanted to just like shut
Really?
my jaw down. Yeah. I went through a whole dark night of the soul and wanted to quit.
Why,
And
Danny?
well, because it was just, I couldn't figure it out. And I had spent all this money. It was in like up over my head and was like, this is nowhere. And I don't feel like I'm helping anybody's skin. And so I just showed up at work anyways. I had opened up the skin sanctuary of Taos in Taos, New Mexico, and I couldn't get out of any of my financial commitments. And so I just kind of showed up day after day and slowly started to figure it out. And I guess somebody would have to analyze my astrology chart as to why I stayed with it.
I think it's great that you did. I mean,
Yeah.
and I'm saying this, and we're going to get into the products that you have because they're very important and I want everyone to know about them. I mean, I've used them and I've seen what they do. So it's important, but we're going to get to that. So we talked about the yoga, the face yoga. That was really important. Is that something that we can do at home, by the way?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, there's so many people doing good face yoga. You just get on YouTube and just it's free. It's the time, right? It's the time and
Yeah.
dedication to do
Yeah,
it.
it is a time. Danny, I wanted to talk about sunscreens a little bit. So it is a little bit of a controversial topic because there's many people who say that their skin has been damaged from sunscreens. Are sunscreens truly an essential in our life?
Well, nobody should be using a chemical sunscreen because they are indeed toxic
What
and
is a chemical sunscreen?
like benzoin. There's a whole list of ingredients. You can Google them where I did a whole blog on it actually. But they're, yeah, chemical sunscreens just like should not be marketed. They should not be sold. Yet zinc oxide, the mineral sunscreens are, and we should be covering our face. And we shouldn't be covering our whole body with sunscreen all the time because we do need vitamin D synthesis. But high exposure areas, our face, our neck, our hands,
Yeah.
absolutely put some mineral sunscreen on and use the rest of your body to synthesize the vitamin D.
So you were saying use a mineral sunscreen? Does that mean that it doesn't have the chemicals in it?
Correct.
Oh,
Correct.
oh.
Yeah. And sometimes they're both, but you want to get one with that has the zinc oxide or titanium dioxide, just the ones that have the physical blockers.
If a person doesn't use sunscreen, is that going to increase aging faster?
Well,
What is it? How does the sun age our skin?
it takes away our collagen and elastin, our very precious inborn volume, that collagen and elastin mattress. It does diminish it faster.
Oh my goodness. That makes such sense. Oh my God. Oh, let's see. Where are we at, Danny? I have so many questions. I don't know which one is like essential or okay, so I think this one's a really cool one. The mind and body connection. So, how does emotional health or mindfulness play a role in the appearance of aging skin? Because we're all stressed.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
how does stress, age us? Well, how does that work?
Yeah, I mean, stress is the fastest ager. And I mean, we've heard this, I've heard this ever since I was a child, that aging is a state of mind. And it's absolutely true. There is a realm where there is no aging, and it's us, in direct communion with divinity. And that something that there's a part of our souls that just never age, it's completely timeless. And that is 100% true. And
Yeah.
like I mentioned earlier, there is a love language that our skin has and that our whole body has. And it is knowing right practices. It boils down to beliefs. Our beliefs drive our patterns. And if we have beliefs that are in alignment with magnifying and preserving life, then we will be doing those actionable things every day that are going to take us to this delayed aging state. And this is where we have to, the skin harmonics protocols is a complete reworking of our deepest beliefs about our skin, that we
Yeah.
no longer have to harm our skin to heal it, that we don't have to scrub away bad skin cells, that we don't have to over cleanse and exfoliate our skin to clean it. Like there's these very deep beliefs that therefore create these patterns that are life positive and deliver us towards this delayed aging state.
Yeah, the unfortunate thing about life is that it's not all rainbows and butterflies. It's really hard for a lot of people. And when I look at life and I look at today, the different times, it's impossible to not be stressed. It's impossible to be happy all the time and eat healthy all the time, stay hydrated all the time. We're humans. But why I'm
Yeah.
saying this is because wrinkles are not really accepted anymore, and these things are impossible to kind of jump over, all these stressors and the air and all these pollutions. What happened that wrinkles are really not accepted anymore? It's like you see somebody who has wrinkles or doesn't want to do Botox, we look at them like they're an alien from another planet.
Yeah.
aging,
I guess it
aging
depends.
gracefully is gone.
Yeah, I mean, it just depends on what circles we work in and live in, because
Yeah.
there's a lot of places. I mean, a lot of Americans get caught up in these little tiny micro bubbles of culture and cliques and fail to see the rest of the world. And it's our relationship with aging that has to change. And it's very personal, it's very private, it's very deep, it's very spiritual. And in that relationship with aging, what I've come to know is that, I mean, we're gonna get wrinkles. Like, of course we're gonna get wrinkles. It's just how can we? Our physical bodies are going to age. We can't stop that. We want that delayed aging. And at the end of 60, 70, 80, 90 years old, we just want to glow. We a well-lived life will have a face that tells a story, and there will be wrinkles. If you have laughed, if you have cried, if you have lived your life, there will be wrinkles. And I've come to know, I mean, a lot of my older clients, and as I'm turning into one of my older clients, like these wrinkles are beautiful. We just have to keep feeding them, hydrating them, supporting them, and getting that smooth texture and that overall glow. Like that we can maintain till we're 100 plus years old. It's that worn out skin, the rough texture, and that blahness. That doesn't have to be. That can be completely reconciled.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, it's just women. And what you just said is so beautiful. It does. Your wrinkles do tell a story. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
Why are we so scared as women? And some men too. Men are falling into this too.
Yeah, I
Like,
think that it's a American kind of mental sick culture where we're fixating in these ways that are not healthy for our wellness. So we have to redo our whole lives. We have to find ways to live that structurally support us to where we're not overworking, we're not driving a million hours in traffic, that we have to rebuild our lives in a way that they are wellness and sustainable. And that's what we're all doing. All the good people I know are working towards, simplicity in their lives, towards family, these health, nutrition in these ways that isn't like Disney World. Like,
yeah.
you know, you don't have to have Disney World happening and complicated things to have this very deep way of satisfaction and wellness in our lives.
That's so true. I love that. Danny, what are the main products with people that want to age gracefully and do it holistically? I know we talked about the cleansing, but what are the essential products they need to use to keep their skin hydrated and also for glowing?
Yeah, so I have three different what I call origin sets, and it's a set of a mist, a serum, and a moisturizer.
Yes.
And the there's three because there's different doses of the dermal nutrients. Our skin does have an appetite, has different appetites for
Mm-hmm.
the dermal nutrients. So the balance origin set is for somebody that has very sensitive skin, reactive skin. And then the fortify origin set is where most people would get. It's just your really fantastic hydrator, your dermal nutrient serum, and then a moisturizer. The feast origin set is a little bit stronger, where it has a little more corrective power to get new skin cells to the surface for delayed aging and to correct acne. So the balance, fortify, and feast origin sets are the place to start.
I know that I've been using your products for about 2 months now, and I'm in love with them. But I talked to you about retinoids and retinol, and you said Feast, correct? Feast,
Fortify and feast. Yeah.
Feast is
And
the serum that I'm using, I
yep,
believe. And
yep.
I read on there that it had carrot in there. And I think you had mentioned that carrot plays a role of a retinoid. Is that correct? Can you tell us a
Well,
little?
it can be a source of where retinols come from, but the the dermal nutrients that I've been referring to is a form of vitamin A called retinaldehyde, and these are patented with liposomal delivery. So it's like what I think I told you, the Tesla of vitamin A. It's like not our mama's retinol, where it is delivered to our deep dermal layer through liposomes and is released, and our skin recognizes it as food and starts making new skin cells. And it does this without the inflammatory effects that are associated with traditional retinol and without the sun sensitizing effects associated with traditional retinol, because those can make retinols can be very tricky in that way, that if you don't get the dose just right, that it creates sun sensitivity and inflammation, which is inflammaging. Like that's what actually ages people. So with these dermal nutrients, with these retinaldehyde liposomal delivery, we're able to get this deep nutrition without having to wait for that other shoe to drop.
I want to talk about Lamina, okay? Because
Okay.
she has changed my skin, my world. It's incredibly unique. It's not your typical moisturizer where you can just dive into and just apply. It's very hard. You guys,
Right.
I want everybody to listen because this, I think for me, I know I love all your products, but Lamina it's so special, and I've told you that so many times, and I'm not tired of
Yeah.
telling you. It's very special. How did you because it's rock hard and you have to kind of
Right.
warm it
Right.
up and then it
Yeah, it's a
dissolves.
very
How did you
radical.
come up with it?
Yeah, it's a very radical product. And consumers have been taught over the years that a moisturizer should go in and then you should never feel it on your skin. And it's completely ineffective, a moisturizer that works that way. What
Oh,
actually traps water in our skin is an oil residue, some kind of lipid that sits at the surface of our skin, and it prevents water loss. Like it's a saran wrap, if you will, or a roof or a lid that actually prevents water from escaping our skin. And the word that is used is barrier restoration. So this is a medical barrier restoration product. And I just I formulated it before COVID, and I just kept making it all the prototypes. No, more dense, more dense, more dense, and realized that if the product could be completely liquefied by friction in the palm of our hand and then applied, it creates almost like this waterproof barrier. It's like a Vaseline, but that it's with better ingredients, obviously, and it's even
oh,
more dense. So
oh
it
yeah.
creates this like really thin lipid seal yeah, on the skin, lamina. I love the way you said it though. I like that
I said
version
it
of
the Armenian way, Lamina.
beautiful. I'll take that. And it's instant barrier restoration. So this supports our skin's natural acid mantle. And our acid mantle is our own natural oils mixed with a little bit of our sweat that create the microbiome on our skin. And the anti-aging conventional protocols and acne protocols that are conventional completely annihilate our acid mantle on a daily basis. And so going back in and supporting it and refortifying and building and keeping this really beautiful, acid mantle happening in our skin, it creates like no dehydration lines on our skin. Our skin
Oh my gosh,
instantly.
none.
Yeah.
None. My
Yeah.
skin, I put lamina on at night. I wake up in the morning glowing,
Yeah.
glowing, Danny. My skin loves her. I
Yeah.
kid you not. I mean, she is obsessed with her, and I will never literally, I don't have a single any other moisturizer but your Bicentello and Lamina. I don't. And
Yeah.
I
Those
love
are,
them both so much. I do.
yeah.
You're a genius.
Thank
Has
you.
anyone ever told you that? You're a genius. Danny, what skincare advice do you give women who do want to age naturally and gracefully? What's a few advice that you would provide for women like that?
Yeah, I mean, just to go along with what we've been saying is learn about these dermal nutrients and the peptides and sandwich them with the mist and the moisturizer and learn and become empowered and to say no to this conventional way of feeling like you have to laser your skin and then learn about microcurrent and face yoga and there's acupuncture, there's
Yes.
facial massage, like there's a whole list of things that are so supportive for aging delay. And I want to say that this would be honestly for anybody who wanted aging delay. You wouldn't necessarily like people think that if you go about holistic aging delay, it's sort of the sissy way and the less powerful way of doing anti-aging. And what I've come to know is just not true. I'm knowing what I know and seeing what I've seen. It's the most effective way to arrive at aging delay.
Yeah.
So even if you had a lot of money and a lot of time on your hands and you were going to be doing all of these procedures, these skin gets over procedured and skin accelerates in its aging. So it's just to become empowered and get good knowledge. I have a book that I wrote, the Relearning Skincare, the story of skin in
Right.
the new way. It gets a lot of listens on YouTube. It's 90-minute, easy breezy listen, and just get access to new information that might be outside of the media bubble that you might be in with your medical spa mailing list and all of the normal rigmarole of all the Charlie Brown want of all the same things that every place is like rolling out retinols, chemical peels,
Yeah.
and benzoyl peroxide. Like there are other ways of doing things.
I love that. I absolutely adore how you said learn more. Give yourself the knowledge and the education because it is a blessing. When you don't, you fall into this, let me go and do this, let me go and do that because it's everywhere and everyone else is doing it. That's called
Yeah, and we don't
questioning
know.
authority.
Right? We don't know what we don't know, and so we have to be willing to find
Yeah.
out what we don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. Danny, thank you so much. Is there anything else you'd like to add for us to know about?
Ah, well, I'm excited. I have a new app that
Yes.
people can access free information from. There's
What's the
4
app
free.
called?
Oh, it's Skin Harmonics. I'll have to put it in. I'll put it in there, and
Yeah.
it's free and it gives some really great information. And I also have 6 different skin courses too. I have one for acne, for menopause, for sensitive skin. I have one for the possible precursor lesions, and I have one for outdoor skin. So, and all of the 36 videos at people's fingertips.
Yes, and I'm gonna
So there's
link
a
all of that for and anyone that wants it. I highly recommend the book, though. It's phenomenal. I love how you just explain what has worked for many, many years before it was kind of shut down in a way. But yes, definitely, I'll link everything.
yeah.
Thank you guys for tuning in. And Danny, thank you so much for all the beautiful information. I appreciate you, and I'll definitely link where everyone can find you.
My pleasure.
Thank you so much.